Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're doing the 12/12 portal special reading. What I'm gonna do, because I don't have time for the full read for all of the signs where you do 3 cards for each sign, I'm gonna do 1 card per sign, which I think is gonna be plenty to get an idea of the day. If 12/12 portal is not something, meaning for those who are new that it's the 12th day of the 12th month, if it's not something that you've acknowledged or that feels special, then this is a great intro into understanding the portals and getting a little something personally for your sign, with getting you some food for thought basically on what is happening right now, maybe giving you some clarity on your situation or giving you some ideas on what could be beneficial to do with the current energies. What I'm gonna do first though, which is what I usually do with these readings, is I'm gonna get the 3 cards for 3 themes for the collective of this specific gateway. I mean, the 12, of course, as the name suggests, is the name, right? The number. It's 12 out of 12. Essentially, it's the end of a cycle. We're at the end of the calendar year, and it is asking us to really kind of close the loop and bring all the different pieces of the puzzle together. So this is a really good time to recollect how much you've done, how much is still unknown, right? You can organize in different ways. I have worked as a project manager for a very long time, so for me it's immediately like tables, lists, mind maps. But it's a really good idea to see where you've gained clarity, where something happened and you still don't have any idea what it meant, or how come you attracted something like this into your life. I know I have a couple, even though I am very much like on the dot, like going into the reflective mode on the regular basis and sitting with those energies and feelings, and even logically with the events and what they mean. But it's not always revealed to us right away. It's not always that simple. So whatever it is, respect that, honor it, definitely celebrate what you have to be thankful for, the dreams that came true, the friends that were by your side even at tough times, your family, whatever it is, because that is something that's going to bring more of that happy and fruitful energy to you. Well, let's get to it. So, whoa. And I've got a different tarot deck today, by the way. I'm going to be using the Thelema deck. So, something exciting these days if you're watching my channel, because actually I got all 3 cards here already. While I'm traveling, I have limited opportunity to exchange my decks. Hopefully that will change soon, by the way, but at the moment, yes, it's kind of like we have what we have. I also don't want to buy more decks because I'm still on the go, and so it doesn't really make sense. But if you want to gift me a deck, contact me. I have an Amazon wish list of decks that I'd like to buy. The only thing I would say, don't order them at this time because my address has changed. Or at least if you decide to do that, let me know, right? I can give you an alternative address that will work. We can figure it out. And I'll be able to use the deck right away because, I definitely can use some more decks at this time. So, exciting 3 themes. They are the Spirit Fox, the Magic Guardian, and the Stag. I love this combination so much. So, let's unpack. Trust your talents in changing times. Very interesting, right? A lot of times, I was actually going to do a little video on Instagram about that. And what came to me, I still don't know exactly why it's important enough to make a reel out of it, but a topic about recognizing your talents. The thing is, and I'm now on the crossroads of like deciding what is my next focus going to be, what I want to do for a living, things like that. Because what I'm doing right now here, it doesn't support me to the extent that I would like to, that I actually need to, from practical perspective. So a lot of questions there. But what I've also noticed while doing my research, my homework, considering the options that I have, is that a lot of times we don't necessarily recognize certain talents as something that is worthwhile mentioning on like a resume, or when you're considering what am I good at, right? Because if you think of ikigai, like the Japanese approach of figuring out your what to do, basically your occupation, one of the important aspects is what are people willing to pay for, right? So it's not like, oh yes, I can sing, but who really is going to pay me for singing? But of course, now that I'm starting to dive deeper into singing as a healing instrument, as a voice awakening tool, on so many levels, right? Suddenly it's people can see it on a completely different level, and that learning how to master your voice, learning how to cleanse the throat chakra, how to be heard when you talk, that is something that people are willing to pay for, right? So and it can be other things. I've never really thought of my skills to plan travel as something that I can put on my resume, right? Like I'm not considering a career as a travel agent, so why would I do that? But there are so many other ways. I just don't want to dive too deep into it, but there's so many ways how that could be useful in a variety of different jobs, opportunities, and careers, right? Where this is like one of the elements, but it would be really beneficial, right? Or maybe someone who's looking for someone like me, they're thinking there will be a lot of travel and I don't think I'm gonna have budget for that. But if you're presenting yourself as somebody who's really good at like finding different travel options, opportunities, programs, ways to travel for like a fraction of a budget that people usually spend, like that immediately opens so many doors, right? So anyways, acknowledge your talents at changing times. To me, that's what came to me for this energy. Magic Garden, unlock the magic within. So it kind of like the continuation of what we just started talking about. This is about unlocking the gifts and skills that you don't know about yet, right? But there should be a curiosity and a willingness to dive deeper, to explore. There are lots of tests, of course, these days to like dive deeper into what's more on the surface, right? When it comes to more of the psychic skills, intuitive skills, it's definitely harder, and it's a topic for another day. If you're interested in this topic, by the way, on how to uncover your gifts, leave a comment under this video and I will do a separate video on that, maybe even a workshop. But it's always important to see yourself as a vessel full of potential, and full of gifts that you just haven't uncovered yet, right? It's like it's waiting to happen, and be very patient and loving with that energy. And finally, we have the Stag, trust and thrive. Wow, I mean, just a reminder that, especially if you are not quite there yet, that you're not in the thriving stage the way you see it. Of course, everything, can be compared you can compare your state to someone who's in a worse position, but it's still important. I don't like when people are being dismissive about your current wants and needs just because they're saying, you have a roof over your head, you have dinner on your table, people could do worse than that, so, stop complaining. No, it's not about that. You are absolutely supposed to be aware. I apologize about the siren. Maybe I'll do this. Okay, that was actually a good idea. Right, so that, by the way, the siren is usually a confirmation that I'm spot on. Like, this is very important. It's absolutely important to know what makes you thrive, and then trust that it's coming to you, even if you don't feel like you're thriving yet, that it's on its way. Trust that it's going to be provided, not like saying to someone, oh, I wish this could happen and that could happen, but in the back of your head you don't actually believe that you're worth of it, right? That's the main reason that it's not happening. And also the same, be patient and be compassionate to yourself of your blocks, because a lot of us, especially if you're in a spiritual journey, we know that if something is not coming our way in terms of our abundance and success that we want in life, then there is some kind of resistance, some kind of block, and it could be deeper in a subconscious level, right? And oh my God, how can I not figure it out with all the work I do and everything that I read and listen to? It's fine, maybe just not the time for it yet, right? And that's part of the trusting process, that it's all coming together Just be very attentive to what is happening within you and also outside of you, because we are also given these different signs and people and situations that help us unlock those mysteries, right? So it's very important not to push those away. Okay, with all that said, let's get a card for each of the signs. Since we are in Sagittarius season right now, happy birthday Saggies. We will begin with Sagittarius, and I'll go around. We'll finish with Scorpio. I'm thinking what I want to do a timestamp for this kind of, I will do a timestamp, why not? It is going to be easy to just kind of like click through, maybe fast forward a little, but I will do that. So what is the message during this 12/12 portal for Sagittarius? The Moon card. Interesting, right? We already had our full moon in December, and that was a super moon, by the way. And it was in the sign that's opposite to Sagittarius, it was in Gemini, which makes sense, of course, because when the sun is in Saggy, which is the Saggy season, the full moon is happening in the opposite sign. So to me, this again is a reminder that as much as it's great to have a big vision, it's also important to understand how it applies to you, what is happening in the moment, reading the room and understanding the emotional background of, you know, who you're talking to, what you're trying to achieve. It doesn't mean that your vision isn't great or isn't suitable, but just maybe you're doing it at the wrong moment, right? Or maybe this audience needs to hear it in a different way. So don't despair if you're not seeing the reaction that you want from people, in my example. Just needs to be, like, turn on your empathy and go a little more in the detail of like, what are your options of how you can present it? What are they really interested in? How does your message speak to what they want in their life, what they want solved in their life? And that goes for the relationships as well, by the way. Maybe you're trying to make a point, you're going through something and your person just doesn't understand, right? It's like, again, maybe they don't because they haven't had this kind of experience, right? Or they have their prejudice. And the truth is that maybe the goal shouldn't be that you want to make sure that they understand. Maybe the main ask should be, let me live through it. Show me support and grace during this time. That's what I need from a person close to me, even if you don't understand, even if you don't agree. Wow, for Capricorn, we have 4 wands. So some kind of commitment is coming around for you during this time, but I'm hearing that it's coming around if you're able to acknowledge what you already have. So it's like, let's say it's a dream client contract, or let's say it's a marriage proposal. Value what you have already made out of that, right? Like the clients that you already have, even if they were not your ideal customer, or they didn't spend as much money with you, right? Be grateful for that. In terms of the marriage proposal, be grateful for the memories you've already created with your person, right? And how much they've done for you, how much happiness they've brought to your life, and you've brought to theirs, because that's a gift as well, something to celebrate, right? Focus more on the present moment and what is happening to attract more of that commitment or next level commitment. Now, Aquarius, you have 7 of Pentacles. So Aquarius is usually not that great at creating plans and figuring out, you know, the nitty-gritty details, which is what this card is really about. So now, again, it's a bit of a challenge for you to be able, first of all, to acknowledge the details, not just like the big strokes of what happened, for example, this year or even in the last week, right? Acknowledge the small things as well. Be grateful for them. Say things out loud, you know, whatever practice works for you. But it's also about having a more concrete plan for what do you want to attract into your life. Now it matters more than anything. Do your homework, bring the numbers together, do your research on, I don't know, suppliers, marketing, whatever makes sense for you. If you're planning to travel around the world with your partner, then maybe talk with them through specifics of how you see this travel. Because, you know, when you say something like that, like maybe that sounded super exciting and they said, oh my God, of course it's a yes, of course I want to do this with you, right? But when you start going through the travel arrangements, the lifestyle during this time, the budgeting, like it becomes it has a different taste to it, let's put it that way. And it's important to stay aligned at all times of this process. All right, Pisces, you have the Queen of Cups, very Piscean card, by the way. Pisces, stay in your element, connect to your feelings and to the intuitive guidance that you're receiving from the ancestors, from guides, from angels during this time. It will be very much spot on to what you feel you're missing in terms of information, in terms of what are my next steps, right? Your spirit family is around you. So just be open to receiving the message. Aries, you have the Hierophant, the Taurus card. Well, it's interesting, you know, because there is the Aries card is the Emperor, right? And this is Hierophant. And the main difference is the Hierophant kind of like is the servant leader, right? It's like the leader of the community, somebody who is serving by example, who is at the higher point. There is certain hierarchy here, but they haven't gained that position by force or by money or by inheritance, as the Emperor would suggest, but by you know, the having the strength of character, right? By their moral qualities. This is somebody that people want to follow. In a more classical example, it's a priest, right, which has that position, which is a little different, but if you think about it, the way it's supposed to be is also an example of a moral character, right? So see whatever you're trying to achieve, like see a different approach to it, not what you've been trying to do, but see like exactly what is the persona, what is the identity of that position, of the person in that position that you're trying to get to. Again, whether it's personal or professional, doesn't matter. You want to have your perfect partner, what would that kind of identity be like? What is your expectation towards yourself in that scenario when you already are in that relationship? And with anything professional, just as much. Okay, next we have Taurus. 9 of Wands. Taurus, what are you afraid of? I feel like Taurus is afraid of their success, actually. Like they're afraid of the scenario when success does happen, and it's like, oh wow, you know, I'll have to stick with it because I've promised so many people now that that's what I want, and you know, when opportunity comes, I'm gonna jump on it. But now that it's actually nearing, you know, my horizon, I'm scared because it's gonna bring a lot of change into my life, and I'm not sure that I can do this. Well, you know, that's the answer to your questions, right? That's how you bring it closer. You welcome it with the energy of readiness and with energy of like, you know what, this is going to be an exciting adventure. And yes, I know we're talking to Taurus. Exciting adventure isn't the most exciting part if you don't know exactly what it is going to be like. But that's, you know, that's space for growth and expansion for you, really. Be open to that. Be curious about that new life. For Gemini, Page of Cups. Gemini, it's time to reveal your feelings to someone, whether it's, you know, feelings connected with love, or maybe anxiety, or worry, or even anger. And you can always present it in a way that is not going to be threatening to a person, but the way present it with an open heart, so they can appreciate your honesty and coming forth with that message, even if it's uneasy for you to say. Right? And then it's up to them how they want to react with it, what they want to do with it. You're not doing this for a reaction. You're doing this because this is your honest expression, right? And especially if this is someone important to you, you won't be able to have a good, trusting relationship without being completely honest, right? But then it's up to that person to decide what they want to do with it. And you should be fine with whatever outcome is going to happen. Okay, next we have Cancer, and for you we have Ace of Wands. Cancer, you've been putting off this long enough. Whatever this passion of yours is, I don't care, it sounds like a hobby, you don't feel like you're gonna make enough money with it, do it. This is your time. This is the point. This portal is like your acceleration point that will really, it will jumpstart your success with this. But again, it's not even about a specific success in like practical terms. Like these are the criteria that we've reached. This is about you having that source of creative outpour, where you can get into a completely new level of satisfaction and even pleasure. I mean, come on, this is Ace of Wands. Next we have Leo, and for Leo we've got the Tower. Ooh, big changes coming in for Leo. I'm sure you already see how this year ends. You've already like dot your I's and crossed your T's, and you're like nicely waiting for the holidays where everything makes sense. Even if you don't like it 100%, at least you've explained it to yourself and the universe makes sense. And then suddenly this happens. The portal, something during this time gets you out of your comfort zone, and it's so sudden that you may really want to run away. You may get into your fight or flight response. And that, it's not the worst, I would say, to react that way, but is it really serving you? Maybe that's, allow yourself to have that reaction right in the moment. But remember that this is also coming in to bring in some change, right? It's destroying old structures, or it's changing your viewpoint from what you always thought this specific something was, to bring more clarity and more opportunities and more potential into your environment, right? So keep that in mind while you're freaking out and thinking, where do you run away from it? Or how do you change it back? The thing with the Tower card is you can't. Sorry for that. Next we have Virgo. Virgo, you have Six of Swords. So it's important during this time to slow down, to stay in a peaceful place, peaceful energy, and really reconnect with your higher power, right? Again, listen for the messages and be connected with, like, that is the, right now in the moment, the most important relationship for you to pay attention to, right? So make sure that you give enough time and attention to your meditation practice, to your prayer, whatever it is, right? Maybe consider connecting with your ancestors, especially if you don't believe in some kind of divinity, but ancestors is a fact that we do have them. We do have connection with them, and there is some kind of a message that they have for you right now. But more than anything, being in that peaceful state will allow you to hear the message that you need to hear, even if it comes from your own subconsciousness. Subconsciousness? Okay, we'll go with that. Next, Libra. Eight of Pentacles. Wow, Libra, really need to roll up your sleeves and start taking action, right? And again, it doesn't have to be heavy, it doesn't have to be scary, right? Start with something small, but take consistent action. Do a plan every day till the end of this month and see how magic will start happening after a few days. Like, this is the time, this is your entry point, the 12th of portal, and you can start taking that action starting today. Whatever that dream is that you have in mind, or something will come up when you're listening to this of what it is exactly, where you can create that difference. And last but not least, the Scorpio, Three of Wands, right? Scorpio, so your ships are coming in, you waited long enough, it's finally coming together. Do you have what it takes to last this last leg of the journey before it actually happens? It reminds me of Paulo Coelho books immediately, where especially, where was it? It was maybe in alchemy rather, The Alchemist. Yeah, thank you. Where Paulo is talking about this notion of when you're very close to your dream, and sometimes like when you're like just a few steps away, you start getting jitters and you start freaking out and rethinking it, right? Like, this is that kind of time that I'm feeling for you, that you can get too dramatic. It was like, I don't even think this is happening, or like things like that would never happen to me, or whatever the story is. Listen to the story, tend to yourself and your inner child, with whatever that message is, right? Just a little bit more time that is necessary right now for this to come together. But it is coming together, so stick with it and stay high vibe as much as you can. Got this. Okay, with all that said, these were the messages for you guys. I will add timestamps. Thank you very much for joining me. Happy 12/12 portal, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon. By the way, all the December horoscopes are now on my channel, so especially if you're new, check out the channel. They're just in the feed just before these readings. There's a dedicated playlist as well. Definitely see, especially if this intrigued you, there will be a much deeper dive into December energies for each sign in those readings. Okay, with all that said, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, and until next time, bye.